At 5:30, we're taking a look at the economic impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. First, a CBS News poll shows Americans are not quite sure about how quickly they believe the economy will recover from the shutdown. 37% believe the country is headed for a recession. 36% believe it will lead to a temporary downturn. 23% believe that the country will be in a depression because of the impact of the pandemic. Let's get some expert advice. Joining us live via Skype tonight, Dr. Taylor Stevenson. He's a professor of economics with East Tennessee State University. Dr. Stevenson, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Love to know what you think. What do you think? You just heard that poll from CBS News about what Americans are expecting in terms of the economic impact, everything from a slight downturn to a recession to a depression. Where are you in this?
I think this has been a very unique time, to say the least, in terms of measuring something like a recession or depression. I think that clearly the unemployment rate being up, is up, but it's up because people are not, they're forced to stay home. And when as this lifts, I think we'll see people gradually going back to work. I personally, if I had to bet on it, I would say that it wouldn't be as long term, but it, again, depends on how people react.
Right. Fear is such a huge part of economic health for a country anytime. We were due for kind of a downturn, weren't we? I mean, we had been roaring for years. Economists have been saying that a correction or at least some sort of a downturn was on the way. The governor of Tennessee has said that he feels like the best way is to do a gradual reboot of the economy at this point. Virginia's governor a little bit less ready to go there. What do you think? How's that play out to you from the perspective of an economist?
Well, if you think about how different places have been impacted differently by this, say, being concentrated in these large urban areas with high population density, and I think that means different places are going to come back at different rates. I mean, if you even look at the state of Tennessee, compared to New York, that's one thing. But if you look at Washington County or Sullivan County compared to say Davidson or Shelby County, where half the state's cases or diagnoses have been in two counties, I think, if I read that right. And so maybe in places where you have higher population density, the comeback feels different. It's a different thing. My expectation would be, well, at least around my house, I've been hearing the term quarantine fatigue. I think people are ready to get out and start doing stuff. I don't know that's true in my household, but I think that's going to be different across different places too.
I think you bring up a great point that households are still spending money, and in many ways they're just spending it differently. I mean, as you begin to look toward the future, we have an economy now where people are shopping online in great quantities, where people are maybe spending their monies for certain things in different places. Are you seeing this pandemic potentially reshaping our economy? And if so, how?
There's been a lot of speculation on how much this will change something like retail. The possibility that it changes the way people behave. And I think a lot of that hinges on, as this information rolls out, how do people perceive the risk of being around large numbers of people? In the economic models going back 50 years or so, there's a differentiation between uncertainty and risk. And with uncertainty, there's no way to evaluate anything. If with risk, there is some kind of probability. And when you have some kind of probability that you're going to be impacted negatively by something, then you can make an informed decision on that. And so I think as we go forward, different sectors will surely be impacted differently by this. But as people are learning about what the risk really is, then they can evaluate it, and then they can say, well, I'm willing to go into a crowded restaurant, or I'm willing to go to a ball game with 50,000 other people or 100,000 other people. I think it'll all hinge on what it looks like on the other end of it.
Today in Tennessee, we saw restaurants get that green light. Wednesday, retail operations begin to get that green light. You literally have portions of the economy who are just waiting for the permission to reopen their doors at this point. But many are saying they're not quite sure that they want to take that step. For the perspective of not the shopper, but the actual provider of the economy, how difficult do you think this is going to be? And are you concerned that maybe some of them literally won't survive and come out of this on the other side? Is that potential there?
I think there's always that potential. That's one of the things when you think about entrepreneurial activity. Generally speaking, you're taking on risk, and this is one of those unforeseen kind of risks that nobody knew we'd have to. If you had a business, you might have to shut it down for 6 weeks. That's not something that anybody could have expected. It's a big negative shock, and when something like that happens, it's unfortunate for those people who are teetering on the edge of success and failure already. They're probably, I'd say there are a lot of people who are on that boundary who are not going to make it back. That's unfortunate for those people, but for the economy as a whole, it hasn't really changed something like the underlying capital infrastructure or something like that. You have if you have a restaurant that was maybe going to make it and then it fails after this, well, they're still building with a kitchen there, and so somebody will probably willing to take that over. So the long term for the economy, the perspective is not as bad for that single business owner who has to go out of business because of this.
Let me ask you one question about the people who are receiving unemployment benefits, that weekly unemployment benefit from the state. They're getting a $600 a week a benefit attached to the stimulus package. There's been some concern that for some people, they're actually going to make at or above what they were making before they went on unemployment benefits. Do you feel like the economy, is that a perspective, something that economists are watching to see how quickly we can get people to stop collecting unemployment benefits and actually go back to work and leave that benefit behind and take a job?
There was something like that went on with the way benefits were structured, and that was remedied back, I want to say, in the 1990s, of there being kind of a cliff where the trade-off between losing the benefit outweighed the income that you would earn from working. There's a lot of people that say that a lot of people find meaning from their job, and so there's often a difference in how policy looks on paper and then how it acts when it's enacted. So I would hope that there would be sufficient incentive for people to get back to work when this is up.
A lot of people like your family have quarantine fatigue. They're also looking forward to go out and get back to work. So many are. We really appreciate the perspective. Dr. Taylor Stevenson with the Economics Department at East Tennessee State University. Thanks for helping us through this. We appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Great to talk to you.